Jimin pushes himself to exhaustion. Jin's health worsens, and Jungkook breaks down in tears, witnessing it all. Amsterdam woke up to whispers that no one wanted to hear. By sunrise, those whispers had turned into a storm of concern. Jin's health had taken an alarming turn for the worse, and Jimin had refused to leave his side for even a moment. What truly happened inside the walls of their Amsterdam hotel? And why did Jungkook, known for his composure, reportedly break down in tears after seeing the situation firsthand? Multiple accounts from within the city paint a consistent, sobering picture. Jimn, pale and visibly drained, has been shielded from public view except for brief, heavily monitored appearances. Those staying at the same luxury hotel recall seeing Jimin entering Jin's room well past midnight, carrying what appeared to be a bag of medicine, a thermos, and a fresh change of clothes. One hotel staff member, speaking anonymously, said Jimin did not return to his own room that night, instead remaining with Jimn until daylight, at approximately 3 a.m. Witnesses observed Jimin stepping out of Jin's room to fetch 2 cups of hot tea from the 24-hour lounge, only to return minutes later. His face, they said, was marked by a quiet but unmistakable determination, an unspoken declaration that nothing else in the world mattered more than the man resting behind that door. The following morning, diners in the hotel's private restaurant saw the two together. Jimn barely touched his breakfast, while Jimin remained beside him, softly urging him to eat a little. One eyewitness described it as not just a shared meal, but an act of care so deeply personal it felt like watching family. Social media was quick to erupt with emotional reactions. Fans declared Jimin the embodiment of loyalty, noting that this bond was not merely one of bandmates, but of brothers in every sense. The concern deepened when a local Dutch outlet reported that several of Jin's upcoming engagements had been quietly cancelled due to his sudden health decline. The same report suggested Jimin personally intervened to halt all non-essential activities for Jimn, despite internal pressure from certain higher-ups to keep the schedule intact. What could have pushed Jimn to this point? Sources close to the group reveal that Jimin's decision to remain in Amsterdam was entirely his own, not mandated by management. The shift began when Jimn first complained of fatigue following an intense rehearsal. Without hesitation, Jimin canceled his own undisclosed European project meetings, telling his team, "Postpone everything. My hyung comes first." While Dutch fans kept a respectful distance from the hotel, many chose to send flowers and handwritten letters to be delivered to the reception desk. Several members of ARMY launched an online recovery campaign, sending waves of messages under trending tags like #StayStrongJimn and #ThankYouJimin. But the atmosphere surrounding the hotel grew heavier when eyewitnesses reported seeing Jimin guiding Jimn through the garden that same afternoon. Jimn, wrapped in a thick scarf and oversized coat, walked slowly, supported by Jimin's steady hand at his back. They shared a brief laugh before returning indoors, offering a momentary relief to those worried about Jin's spirit. Yet questions remain unanswered. Is this a sudden illness or something that has been quietly affecting Jimn for weeks? Has the grueling travel schedule finally taken its toll? And what could this mean for the group's plans for the rest of the year? For now, Jimin's silent vigil in Amsterdam has become the center of the story. Reminder that some of the strongest acts by an idol happened far from the stage, past midnight, when Amsterdam's streets fell silent. Faint light could be seen from Jin's hotel room. Fans stationed quietly across the canal claimed they saw Jimin seated by the window, his head tilted toward Jimn as though listening closely. Some even insist they caught a glimpse of him smiling faintly, a rare, unguarded moment that seemed meant solely to comfort. Those who have followed BTS for years know that Jimn has often played the role of protective older brother to Jimin, staying up to ensure he ate, laughed, and felt at ease. Now, the roles had quietly reversed. A kitchen staff member confirmed that Jimin personally requested nutrient-rich snacks for Jimn, mostly broths, tea, and fresh fruit. He was very polite, never demanding, but you could tell he was deeply concerned, the staff member said. He even checked the tea's temperature before bringing it upstairs. Meanwhile, insiders speculate that the agency is carefully weighing how much to share with the public, aware of both the members' privacy and the expectations of fans worldwide. Stakes are high, not just for the group's immediate plans, but for the emotional stability of millions who see BTS as a constant source of strength. And then there is Jungkook. Several eyewitnesses from within the hotel claim that the youngest member, who had flown in separately for a different commitment, visited Jin's room early yesterday morning. One guest, who happened to be on the same floor, said that Jungkook entered quietly, stayed inside for less than half an hour, and emerged with reddened eyes, quickly wiping his face before walking toward the elevators. Though no one knows what he saw or heard inside, the image of Jungkook in tears has been enough to unsettle fans even further. For someone who has endured countless high-pressure situations on stage, this private moment of vulnerability suggested the gravity of Jin's condition. Outside, the army presence has taken on a reverent stillness. Rather than chanting or crowding the entrance, they have tied purple ribbons to the hotel gates and placed candles along the canal's edge. Late one night, Jimin was seen stepping outside briefly to receive a small paper bag from a fan. Witnesses say he bowed deeply before disappearing back inside, clutching it tightly. No one knows what was in it, but those who saw the exchange described it as quietly devastating. It wasn't about the gift, one fan wrote online. It was how he looked, tired, but somehow grateful, like he was drawing strength from us. In just hours, #StayStrongJean surged across global social media, accompanied by heartfelt messages from around the world. Many fans shared personal accounts of how Jin had once been a source of comfort during their own struggles, declaring that it was now their turn to return that support. Others voiced admiration for Jimin's unwavering presence, noting that it would have been far easier for him to board a flight home or proceed with his own work. Instead, he stayed. The details surrounding Jin's illness remain guarded and official confirmation is absent. But what is clear is this. In a quiet Amsterdam hotel room, far from the flashing lights and deafening stadium cheers, bonds of loyalty are being tested and proven. Whether Jin's recovery will be swift or drawn out, fans may one day see him back in full form, smiling alongside Jimin on stage. Until then, the most moving performance of the year might already be unfolding, not under spotlights, but in the silent hours of the night, with one hand holding another and the unwavering promise, "I won't leave you." The hours in Amsterdam now seem to move differently for those watching from the outside. Each passing moment without an update feels heavier, each glimpse of Jimin or Jungkook carrying new weight. Hotel staff, accustomed to high-profile guests, admit privately that they have never seen a situation quite like this, where the atmosphere in one corner of the building dictates the mood of the entire floor. Even the usual bustle of tourism has grown muted in the immediate area, as though the city itself understands something fragile is unfolding behind closed doors. Inside, the routine appears unchanged. Jimin remains with Jin, leaving only briefly for necessities, while Jungkook has been spotted returning twice since his first visit. Both times, witnesses reported the same subdued expression on his face, a stark contrast to his usual public energy. The possibility that Jungkook's visible emotion reflects the severity of Jin's condition has only deepened concern among fans. Meanwhile, messages continue to pour in from every time zone. From handwritten letters sent by courier to digital collages of past memories, the global fanbase is creating an unbroken chain of support aimed toward that single hotel room. The recurring theme is clear: gratitude for Jin's years of care toward his members and his audience, and a collective determination to see him receive that care in return. For now, the story remains suspended, no announcement, no clear prognosis, only the visible proof that Jimin has chosen to shoulder the weight of this vigil without hesitation. In a world where schedules, obligations, and public image often dictate every move, his refusal to leave Jin's side sends a message far louder than any performance. And somewhere in the quiet heart of Amsterdam, That choice continues to speak for itself. As night falls again over Amsterdam, the same light glows faintly from Jin's room, an unspoken signal that the vigil has not ended. Outside, the ribbons remain tied, the candles replaced each evening by fans who come and go in silence. No one knows how many more nights this will last. But one thing is certain. For Jimin, for Jungkook, and for those watching from around the world, leaving is not an option until Jin stands strong again. I end the stillness. Every gesture carries meaning. A door quietly closing, a cup of tea exchanged, a brief smile through fatigue. For the fans, these moments are proof enough. Behind the silence, a bond unshaken endures, and the hope for Jin's recovery burns brighter than the city's lights. The Amsterdam Vigil. Fact, fabrication, or media orchestration. A call for relentless critical reflection. The scenes described from Amsterdam. Jimin's sleepless vigil, Jin's declining health, Jungkook's visible tears have reached every conceivable corner of the internet. They have been narrated, repeated, and emotionally amplified across TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and a constellation of other platforms. But as these fragments circulate, reshaped and reinterpreted with every repost, an unavoidable question emerges. Do we truly know what happened, or are we merely consuming a narrative constructed for maximum emotional impact? Every reported detail, the late-night tea, the scarf and oversized coat, the silent candles along the canal, feels tangible. Yet, is tangibility proof of truth, or simply the persuasive power of a well-told story? Can we, as readers and viewers, distinguish between the lived reality of the moment and the editorial hand that frames it? If we cannot, should we not pause before allowing emotion to override scrutiny? Consider the origin of much of this information. Short clips on TikTok, blurred photographs shared on Twitter, fan accounts posted in multiple languages. How many of these were first-hand experiences, and how many were second-hand retellings that have gained legitimacy through repetition? Have you, the reader, seen primary evidence, or have you been guided to believe through the sheer volume of unverified claims? And if you have not seen it firsthand, on what grounds do you assign certainty? This is not a dismissal of the possibility that Jin is genuinely unwell or that Jimin has chosen to remain by his side. It is, however, an insistence that we interrogate the processes by which such information reaches us. Could the imagery of loyalty and suffering be magnified intentionally, knowing it will trigger powerful emotional responses? Could the perceived vulnerability of the group members be leveraged by anyone, not necessarily the members themselves, to dominate online attention cycles? One must also consider the incentives. Viral narratives bring not only sympathy, but sustained engagement. In the era of algorithmic amplification, every tear, every sigh, every image of quiet devotion can generate millions of impressions. This prompts a disquieting possibility. Could such a narrative, whether partially or wholly authentic, be maintained or even shaped to serve strategic ends? If the answer is yes, are we, the audience, complicit in perpetuating it by reacting without questioning? Reflect on the chain of events as you have received them. Did each new update you consumed come with evidence, or merely with an assertion that others had seen or heard something? When a fan post describes a private exchange between Jimin and Jin, how is it witnessed? From what distance? In what lighting? Could the interpretation have been shaped as much by the observer's emotional investment as by the actual occurrence? Furthermore, ask yourself, have we been told anything that could be independently verified without access to the group or their management? The exact medical nature of Jin's condition remains undisclosed. The specific timeline of Jimin's actions is pieced together from anonymous claims. Jungkook's supposed tears, were they caught on an official recording or retold through an untraceable network of fans? If we cannot answer these questions definitively, should we not temper our confidence in the narrative? We must also consider the mechanics of how such stories evolve. A single fan's description can be reshared by larger accounts, stripped of original context and paired with unrelated images to create the illusion of corroboration. By the time it reaches a wide audience, the version you see may be several steps removed from its origin. Each step introduces the possibility of alteration, whether deliberate or accidental. This is the digital equivalent of the whispered telephone game. Except here, the stakes are reputational, emotional, and financial, and yet, the imagery remains potent. The quiet hotel room, the devoted vigil, the youngest member breaking down. Such imagery bypasses rational analysis, appealing directly to the instinct to protect and to empathize. But should we not resist the urge to let sentiment replace verification? Can genuine concern coexist with the discipline to demand evidence? Or do we, perhaps subconsciously, prefer the emotionally charged version of events because it offers a more compelling story? It is also worth asking whether our role as the audience has shifted from passive consumer to active participant in the construction of these narratives. Every retweet, every comment, every reaction video contributes to the momentum of a story, whether or not it is grounded in fact. Have we examined our own part in this ecosystem? Are we comfortable with the possibility that our engagement may sustain a narrative whose accuracy we cannot confirm? To ignore these questions is to accept the possibility of manipulation. If the Amsterdam vigil is exactly as described, then our skepticism does it no harm. Truth can withstand interrogation. But if any element is exaggerated, staged, or strategically leaked, then our failure to question serves only to reward those who orchestrated it. Which outcome would you prefer to live with? The discomfort of asking hard questions about something real, or the realization that you contributed to amplifying something false? Media literacy demands more than just awareness. It requires active resistance to the emotional shortcuts that digital storytelling offers. We must examine the timing of the releases, the sources of the most viral content, and the absence of verifiable statements. Does the lack of official confirmation increase credibility, or is it part of the narrative's allure, creating an information vacuum that fans rush to fill? And now, the most pressing question. Do you, as the reader, truly believe this story is unfolding exactly as you have been told? Are you prepared to defend that belief against scrutiny? Or are you willing to admit that, without concrete verification, what we have is not certainty, but a shared construction, a collective imagining shaped by fragments, impressions, and the desire for emotional connection? To confront these questions is not to deny empathy, but to protect it from exploitation. If Jin is truly unwell, our measured response does not diminish our care. If Jimin is genuinely exhausted from his vigil, our insistence on evidence does not erode our respect. But if the story has been manipulated, our refusal to accept it unexamined is the only defense against future deceptions. So, as the images of Amsterdam continue to circulate, as hashtags rise and fade, as fan accounts post and repost in waves, hold yourself to the discipline of the skeptic. Ask, with each new piece of information, where did this come from? Can it be verified? What alternative explanations exist? And perhaps the hardest question of all, why do I want to believe this? Your belief matters. Your skepticism matters more. The urgency to question remains not because doubt is inherently virtuous, but because truth is fragile when left undefended. The Amsterdam account, whether authentic or embellished, has already shaped perceptions across millions. Each person who has encountered it now carries an impression, and impressions are rarely surrendered easily, even in the face of contrary evidence. Does this not reveal the true challenge before us? It is not only about finding the facts, it is about resisting the inertia of belief once it has taken hold. Consider the rhythm with which updates have appeared. Does the timing align with natural occurrences, or does it suggest deliberate pacing to sustain attention? The human mind, especially in digital environments, thrives on anticipation. Are we participants in an unfolding reality, or are we consumers in a carefully rationed spectacle designed to keep our engagement high? And if it is the latter, can we honestly claim surprise? We must also recognize the asymmetry of the information exchange. Those within the hotel, members, staff, insiders, possess the full picture. Those outside receive fragments, often stripped of context and amplified through channels optimized for virality. The audience, by necessity, is operating under partial sight. Yet partial sight breeds assumption, and assumption, especially when shared, becomes the raw material for myth. Pause and examine your own reaction to the story's imagery. Did you feel sorrow at Jungkook's alleged tears before asking how they were witnessed? Did you feel admiration for Jimin's vigil before confirming whether he truly never left the room? These are natural responses, but they are also the very reactions that make such stories potent vehicles for manipulation. Perhaps the most important reflection is this: our empathy is a currency, and once spent on a falsehood, it diminishes our capacity to respond to genuine need. Protecting that currency is not cynicism, it is stewardship. If the Amsterdam vigil is real, it will survive our scrutiny. If it is not, then scrutiny is the only force capable of dismantling it before it hardens into unquestioned truth. That in the end, the question is not merely whether the Amsterdam account is fact or fabrication. It is whether we, as an audience, have the discipline to hold our belief in suspension until proof emerges. To consume without questioning is to surrender agency. To question without malice is to safeguard truth. The choice, as always, belongs to the reader. Truth does not fear investigation, but falsehood thrives in unquestioned acceptance. Before you decide what to believe about Amsterdam, ask, whose version am I hearing and why now? Only by demanding clarity can we ensure our compassion serves reality, not illusion.